Dad and I met in a very funny, interesting story because I had a really close friend named Ruth and he had a really close friend named Roger.
Her friend was dating my friend, and we met at the University of Minnesota in a large economics class.
And I noticed that Roger was in my economics class, and I called my friend that night and said, I think Roger's in my economics class. And she said, he is, because he just called me.
So she came up, said hi to Roger, because they had both talked to Ruth the night before, and said, I think I saw him in my class.
He knows that you're in the class too, and his friend's name is George.
And she was supposed to say hi to George and punch Roger. So that's how we met.
You see him tomorrow in class, walk up to him, punch him in the stomach, and then say, hi, George. That's how we met.
I was told if I didn't ask her out, she'd be busy.
I dated a lot, and I dated a lot of different people at the same time. And so, but it was like that a long time ago. People asked you out, you said you went. So I was a sophomore in college at the University of Minnesota, and I had quite a few dates. And so I had mentioned to my friend Ruth that I wished that George would ask me out, and that I had dates for this weekend and Friday night and Saturday night, and if he didn't hurry up and ask me out, I wasn't going to have any time available the next week or two.
I said, I'm asking you out because I've been told that you'll be busy on Saturday if I don't ask you out on, like, I don't know, Monday or Tuesday or something.
And so, of course, George being George, he just walked up to me and said, so I hear that if I don't ask you out, that you're not going to have time for me because you're busy dating other people. And I was kind of like, yep. So he said, when can we go out?
I think we went to a movie, but I'm not certain. And then we went out, got something to eat, and then she threw herself at me. No, she hugged me.
I think our first date was a double date with Roger and Ruth. I think we went to a movie. I'm pretty sure that we went to a movie. I don't know what we went to see.
Well, we had been dating for 3 years. At Christmas, I don't know what we were doing exactly, but it was Christmas time, just before Christmas, and I realized, oh, she's the one.
We dated for a while. I watched how he treated his mom. I watched how he treated his sisters. I watched how he treated me. We were out for Dairy Queen, and he left me in the car and ran up to the Dairy Queen to order. It's just a window. He ran up to order what I wanted. It might have even been raining, and he took me to Dairy Queen because he knew I liked Dairy Queen. And when he was standing at the window and I was looking at him, I was like, I think I love this man.
It was the accumulation of events, not one thing that triggered it.
And it was a very pinpointed moment. I mean, I looked at him and said, I think I love him.
Well, she was fun, she was smart, she was pretty, she was intelligent.
I went home and talked to my mom, and I was like, Mom, what is it? What is it when you are more concerned about someone else than yourself? I think I'm more concerned about George being happy than I am about myself being happy. And she looked at me and she said, well, that's love. I had said, well, I think I love him. And then I started talking, and she was just, it was really cute because she was like, well, that's love. Kind of like, I didn't quite know if that's what it was or not, but yeah, that was the point.
Somebody I could see myself sitting in a rocking chair next to when we were both 70. And that was important to me because I was looking for a one and done. And that's what I got.
he's a really strong personality. And I knew from a young age that I needed a strong character for a husband because I dated a lot and I walked over people a lot and I got what I liked and what I wanted a lot because I kind of knew how to be liked and how to be nice. And so I knew I needed a strong husband who wouldn't always give me what I wanted but was best for me and was more objective and stuff.
She was independent enough and she knew what she wanted enough that I wasn't going to have to say, oh, here's what we're going to do, we should do this, we should do that, we should do the other thing. I felt like she would have her own ideas on things and that we could, and that what I would do, my job was to let her do what she wanted to do to the greatest extent I could.
I knew. And it is one of the best, most admired characteristics that George has is that he's strong in terms of what he thinks and what he'll do. But it's also, and over the course of 50 years, it's also one of the things that has irritated me the most because the person wants to get their own way. And so it's been really good for me to have a husband who's really strong, and when he says no, he means no. And most of the time when we discuss and listen, a lot of the time he says yes to my ideas, crazy or not, whether the ideas are crazy or not, he'll say yes. But I also know that I need somebody who will think things through and say no when the answer should be no, and George will do that. You know, I broke up with him once. Yeah, I tried to break up with him once because I liked someone else and I was dating them both at the same time. And so he said, I don't know, you're not breaking up with me. If his name was Dave, if Dave asks you out for Friday, I'm taking you for Saturday. If Dave asks you for Saturday, I get Friday. And that's the way it's going to be. And I was like, are you crazy? What kind of a person are you? I just told you that I liked him a lot. And he said, yeah, I know, but you're going to go out with me too. So I did. And one day I looked at him and said, I do more than like him. I love this guy.
We had gone to Fiddler on the Roof and I had seen proposal after proposal. And so we went back to her apartment, I think it was her apartment, and I asked her.
Yes, we went to see the Fiddler on the Roof. We went back to my apartment. We were sitting on the couch, and it was Mother's Day, 1972. And he said, I can't remember his exact wording, but he said, would you marry me? We were just sitting on the couch.
And I expected her to say yes immediately.
And I didn't answer him right away. I didn't. He didn't have a ring. He wanted me to help pick out the ring. So there was no ring. There was no down on one knee. We were just sitting on the couch, and he said, "Would you something? Would you marry me?" And I waited, and I kind of looked at him, and I went.
This was May, mid-May, and I had given her a chance on February 29th to ask me, and sort of expected her to, and she didn't. So I was a little bit surprised by that, but I certainly thought she was going to say yes, and she said, let me think about it.
And when you ask him that question, it'll be interesting, because he was like, she's not answering right away. And then I said, oh, yeah, yes, I'll, yeah.
And so I was, in the short time before she said yes, I was like, did I misjudge this? Am I, is this wrong? Did I, make a mistake? But she said yes.
I also think moving to Texas was really hard. We had 2 children, and it was the job moved us here, and George was a new Christian, relatively new Christian. I wasn't convinced we should move here, but I wanted to do what he wanted to do, and but the moving, he got sick during the move, so I ended up with 2 small children and a sick husband, sick in bed, almost having to go to the hospital sick. And that was really hard, trying to unpack and find groceries and know people and all that sort of thing. That was really hard.
Communication. For me, she's an excellent communicator on most things, but I was not a good communicator. I would not talk to her if I got mad about something, and various other things. I was more of a hothead than I am today, and what a surprise when you're in your 20s, you're more volatile than when you're in your 70s. And so I would get mad about things, and I would not talk to people. I would go off and be by myself for a while and get calmed down and then talk to people. Talk to her. I have trouble with greatest and most and, here's the top, because there's a lot of high points, but I can't search out one and say, oh, this was the greatest thing that happened to us other than the birth of our children, and our grandchildren. But just that we were getting along and doing things together and enjoying each other's company.
There's no question about the biggest joy is our family. When we were old enough and mature enough to understand that the Bible says that if we seek God, He gives you the desires of your heart, and He has given us the desire of our heart. There's nothing like watching your kids. They're cute when they're little and they're snotty and they're, just watching them toddle and watching the world through their eyes is really fun and hard work. But having 3 grown kids with 3 beautiful, wonderful spouses, and seeing them serving the Lord and seeing them parent their own children, and it's amazing. Absolutely greatest joy. What do I like most about Dad? That he says yes, dear, all the time. No. He's really kind, and he's really generous, and he's funny. And he's
Looks aren't everything.
he balances me out really well. He will tell me when I'm off base, and
There was that once.
he does it pretty nicely.
I like her intelligence. She is such a good conversationalist. She is so helpful to people. She's is and was a great mom, is and was a great Grammy, a wonderful Grammy. That's better than saying great Grammy. And she's a great wife. She supports me when I need supporting. She never attacks me verbally. She tried to attack me physically a couple times. It didn't work out well, so that went away. And
Just once.
no, there were a couple times.
Just once.
Once was very
Enough.
serious. Us similar?
Yeah.
We're both people. We're both Christians. We're both alive. We're both healthy. We're both
There-
able to converse.
There are lots of
There are
big,
lots of differences.
there are lots of big things that we do agree on, but there's a lot of other things that we
If there's
don't agree on.
a choice between black and white, she will pick one and I will pick the other, and it may vary from day to day.
Yeah, we're alike in a lot of ways, but yeah, we are very different in a lot of ways.
She's a woman, I'm a man. Very different fundamentally.
He's more random than I am. No?
It depends.
I thought that I was the one that was, I thought he was the one that was more black and white, more all or nothing. But there's a lot of stuff that I'm all or nothing about that I hadn't really thought about a lot. He's less verbal, I'm more verbal.
I shook my head.
Proving my point right
Yeah,
now.
I shook my head just to prove your point. She was fun. She was a little forward. She was smart and bright and happy.
Oh, well, George was really tall and skinny. He was really skinny. And he always wore shirts that didn't fit him. So,
They didn't have shirts
I
that
know.
fit me back then.
I know, okay.
And
I
you
thought,
did.
And I thought you did. But do you remember the birthday card I gave you that said, "Love Jean"? And you said, "Do you love me?" And we talked about that. Was it somewhere, it was somewhere
And I-
after that.
I thought you needed to love somebody enough to die for them, to say I love you. Be willing to die for them. So I didn't say it first,
I don't even remember
I don't
when
think
it
that
was.
was
Do you
your
remember when
statement.
it was?
No, it was a long time ago. It's doing what's best for the other person.
Yeah, I agree. We just agreed.
It's fun to